Leon Smith is, as I said, President and Chief Executive Officer of Albina Community Bank Corp., a community development bank formed to serve Northeast Portland. His 20-year banking career began at First Chicago Corporation, where he spent 10 years and rose to become Vice President for commercial real estate lending. He then joined Seattle First National Bank, where he served for 6 years as Vice President and manager of 2 commercial real estate offices in Bellevue and Tacoma, Washington. Subsequent to that, Mr. Smith served as Chief Executive Officer of Emerald City Bank in Seattle, and most recently as a Senior Vice President and Division Executive for the Bank of Boston, managing all of its commercial real estate lending activities in the state of Connecticut. Returning to the Pacific Northwest in 1994, to our good fortune, Mr. Smith was recruited to lead the Albina Community Bank, a community development bank designed to meet both the commercial and the residential credit needs of the low and moderate income residents of North and Northeast Portland. Mr. Smith received his undergraduate education at University of Illinois, an MBA in a Master's in Business Administration at the University of Chicago, and a law degree at Northwestern University in Chicago as well, and he is a member of the Illinois State Bar Association. Leon and his wife Yvonne and his daughter Lauren are residents of Northeast Portland. He serves on many boards in our community, including the Oregon Corporation for Affordable Housing, the Oregon Symphony, the Urban League, and the Cascade Pacific Council of the Boy Scouts of America. Leon Smith puts his body and his money where his mouth is. I have visited him in his bank, doing a site visit actually as president of City Club. And unlike other bank CEOs who are hidden away in high rises in this community, Leon Smith is out there. He's in the middle of the bank, greeting his customers and with his employees. He greets people as they come in. He socializes in the community rooms. And like Leon Smith, his bank has been a success story. He showed me a list of investors from all over the country. I visited thriving examples of businesses which were the bank's investment in the Albina community. I left wanting to be a shareholder. Please join me in welcoming Leon Smith to the City Club podium.
I'll take care of that. Thank you very much, Christine, for that very warm introduction. Good afternoon to the members of the City Club and the members of the Albina Rotary. I'm Leon Smith, President and CEO of Albina Community Bank and Bancorp, and I bring you greetings and salutations from the land of possibilities, not limitations, North and Northeast Portland. Possibilities, not limitations, is our corporate credo, and belief in and commitment to Northeast Portland is the fundamental expression of our corporate values. Anatole France once said, "To accomplish great things, one must not only act, but also dream. Not only plan, but also believe." We believe in the community of Albina. My remarks will focus on 3 things this afternoon. First, how the bank came to be, and in doing so pay homage to a group of people that were truly visionary. And I will underscore once again the unique connection that Albina Community Bank has to the Northeast Portland community. Second, I'll talk about what the bank has done and how it's doing. Third, I'll say a few words about the opportunities and possibilities emerging in North and Northeast Portland. Finally, I'll take some questions. Albina Community Bank opened its doors on December 19th, 1995, 4.5 years after the settlement of a lawsuit brought by several environmentally activist attorneys, Lloyd Marbett, Linda Williams, Greg Kafori, and others. This lawsuit was brought against Pacificorp. Instead of writing a check and walking away, Pacificorp executives such as Paul Lorenzini and Mike Henderson saw this as an opportunity to establish a then undefined community development project in North and Northeast Portland that would be long-lasting in nature and have as its purpose the long-term enhancement of the economic, social, and educational welfare of the residents of North and Northeast Portland. They then convened community leaders such as Amina Anderson of the Black United Fund, Lorenzo Poe of Multnomah County Department of Children and Family Services, City Commissioner Gretchen Kafori, Gina Woolley, a real estate consultant and community activist, Ken Wilson, a local attorney, and others, to define exactly what that community development project would be. After 2 years of studying the needs of the North and Northeast community, and with the trial court's approval, this project review committee concluded that what was needed was a proactive community development lender modeled after the highly successful South Shore Bank of Chicago, Illinois. Howard Shapiro, chairman of the Housing Authority of Portland and SAFE Corporation, provided important early conceptual guidance due to his long-term familiarity with the Shore Bank model. The organizers then hired me because of my 20 years of banking experience, as Kristen has mentioned, previous experience as CEO of a community bank, and intimate knowledge of the Shore Bank model. I happen to have grown up in the community adjacent to that which Shore Bank was doing their work. 24 months later, after obtaining the necessary regulatory approvals and raising $3 million in additional capital to augment the $2 million in settlement fund proceeds, Albina Community Bank opened its doors and began closing the historical gaps in residential and small business lending. It is important to note that the unique ownership of Albina Community Bank. The largest single shareholder is the Northeast Portland Community Development Trust that received the settlement monies from PacifiCorp in trust for the residents of North and Northeast Portland. As I've mentioned, its mission is the long-term enhancement of the economic, social, and educational welfare of the residents of North and Northeast Portland. The members of this project review committee, previously mentioned, serve as trustees, and they appoint 25% of the directors of Albina Community Bancorp. That's the bank holding company that owns Albina Community Bank. The rest of the ownership consists of almost 300 investors representing local corporations such as Fred Meyer, Emmanuel Hospital, the NATO Corporation, Nature's Fresh Northwest, Wholesome and Hearty Foods, Fannie Mae, Boatman's National Bank of Kansas City, Missouri. Recently, Wells Fargo Bank became the first major local bank to invest in Albina Community Bank. Local foundations also had a role, such as Meyer Memorial, Tucker, Collins, the Oregon Community Foundation, Wessinger, Templeton, and Jackson are also represented in ACB ownership. The rest of the Albina Community Bank ownership is represented by approximately 270 individual investors, with their ownership stakes ranging from $250 to $75,000. Approximately 2/3 of these investors are from Northeast Portland, and the rest are from throughout the Portland metropolitan area. Now, the reason for going into this detail regarding the origins and ownership of the bank is to underscore the point that this bank was conceived by this community, is owned in large part by members of this community, and therefore this bank has a unique relationship and accountability to the community it was created to serve. And also, it's the question that's most frequently asked about the bank. What are some of our accomplishments since we've been open for the past 16 months? Well, we started out at about $5.7 million in assets on December 19th. We're up to, now after 16 months, $26 million in total assets. We have $16 million in total loans. Approximately 1/3 of those loans are in small business loans and 2/3 in real estate loans, both commercial and residential. During our first year of operation, 89% or $9 million of those loans originated directly by Albina Community Bank were within North and Northeast Portland. And 67%, or about $6.7 million, were extended to women, minorities, and nonprofits. We have $22 million in total deposits at this point in time. While we have not had an ATM card to date, it will be available. This is a little commercial. It will be available in approximately 30 days. And in the next few months, we'll also unveil a debit card, a credit card, and other retail products such as telephone banking. Our intent very simply, is to become a full-service bank for the North and Northeast Portland community. We were involved in the startup of approximately 7 startup businesses. One is a lovely Italian restaurant known as Rustica Italian Restaurant on Northeast Broadway, Delicious D's on Killingsworth, and of course the Renaissance Market also on Killingsworth, which was restarted by Emmanuel Temple. Lumber Source, which is an interesting little company that imports logs from Japan, it's a woman-owned business. We were directly and indirectly responsible as a result of our lending efforts in creating 82 jobs during our first year of operation in North and Northeast Portland, and also contributed to the creation of additional wealth by facilitating the acquisition of investment property by local residents. Some of our partnerships include the Housing Authority of Portland, where we will co-venture with them on a micro-lending program for Housing Authority of Portland residents. The State of Oregon, Department of Economic Development, where we have been awarded a grant to provide for micro-lending for small business development. Another of our partners is the Franciscan Enterprise and Rose Community Development, where we provide loan funds for child care providers, startup child care providers, to either start up those operations or to expand them. And also with the City of Portland in a contractor finance program. One of the other things that we're proud of in our first year of operation is our new building. It's a very handsome facility. Many of you have been in there. Nearing the thing that we're probably most proud of is that we're nearing the end of transition from operating losses to profitability. The bank is on plan to reach profitability by year-end 1997. We were awarded along the way to doing the work that we've been doing in our first year of operation. We were awarded the Business Diversity Award by the Metropolitan Human Rights Council for recruiting and maintaining a diverse workplace. We also just received a couple of months ago the Business Integrity Award presented by the Better Business Bureau and the Oregonian in the finance and investment category for being pro-customer, pro-employee, and enjoying dramatic growth. And finally, we put out a newsletter 4 times a year, which allows us to, it's one of the things we use to discharge the educational function that we're charged with, and also the accountability function by reporting out to the community on the things that we're doing. Incidentally, when people mention to you that, how do we gauge how well we're doing at this, when people mention to you that they saw our newsletter because someone left it in a local copy machine, I think it provides at least anecdotal measure of our educational service. What about the outlook for North and Northeast Portland? Well, we've got to go over a little bit of history. 3.5 years ago, when I was still considering whether to take this job, I asked a group of small business people to meet with me apart from the group of bank organizers who, of course, had a vested interest in a certain point of view. Fortuitously or by some cleverly contrived design, we met on the top floor of the Holiday Inn in a restaurant called Windows, which affords a panoramic view of North and Northeast Portland. I asked for this meeting because I wanted to test the market assumptions of the bank organizers. I wanted to do my own little focus group on the quality and depth of the community support for this project, and also to get some feeling for the intangible, such as rapport, chemistry, potential for connection between myself and this informal sample of the population of customers I would be serving. I was impressed with their intelligence, their level of frustration, and their resourcefulness. We had a spirited discussion, and the meeting concluded with me still harboring doubts about the feasibility of the project. As a conservative banker, I was looking for a home run, not a leap of faith. As we were walking out, and as if they sensed my ambivalence, the group took me to a window and showed me a panoramic view of North and Northeast Portland, which included this vast expanse of single-family homes and tree-lined streets, the Rose Garden then under construction, Broadway with Lloyd Center, the proximity of North and Northeast to downtown Portland, the traffic flowing up and down MLK Boulevard and the Convention Center. At that point, it became clear to me that this bank could work. I could anticipate that the value that all of these development assets would have in assisting us to leverage the work of the bank in attracting capital to North Northeast. What I didn't anticipate was the dedication and thoughtfulness that went into the creation of the Albina Community Plan. I couldn't anticipate the degree of informed grassroots support, community spirit, pride, and cohesion that exists in North and Northeast. I couldn't anticipate the unique nature and impact that agencies such as the Portland Development Commission, the Oregon Department of Economic Development, the Housing Authority of Portland would have as partners in our redevelopment effort. With all these development assets in place, informed candor demands that we recognize that redevelopment in North Northeast was going to take place with or without the formation of Albina Community Bank. Indeed, the conventional wisdom is that redevelopment is now proceeding at a pace that is far quicker than even the most informed observer could have anticipated. For the organizers and investors of Albina Community Bank, the more compelling question has always been who would benefit most from the redevelopment. Those who are already best capitalized, those who were already best connected. Stated another way, the question was, could we harness the general upsurge in North Northeast as a force to unleash latent local entrepreneurial energy that resides within historically underserved populations, match it with technical assistance and other ongoing support systems so that these entrepreneurs could not only access mainstream markets to sell products and services, but also to access debt and equity markets for capital. The question, simply put, was could Albina Community Bank have what we now define as a tangibly positive impact on North Northeast in terms of the percentage of homeowners and small business owners among historically underserved populations? Having been open for 16 months, and because of the lag time in collecting governmental data, the results are still a bit more anecdotal and empirical. What we do know is that the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act in the years immediately preceding the opening of the bank indicated that home mortgage lending in the Albina Community Plan area was proceeding at a rate approximately 2/3 the rate at which mortgages were being made in the entire city. The rate in the so-called inner core was only 1/3 the rate that mortgages were being made in the rest of the city. We think that the 47 mortgages totaling $3.2 million made a big difference to those folks that couldn't find a mortgage elsewhere and now enjoy a 17% average annual increase in home values in North and Northeast, compared to 9% for all homes throughout the greater metro area, according to a study prepared by E.D. Hovey and Company for the Portland Development Commission. This amounts to approximately $15,000 per year in price appreciation to each of those borrowers, or approximately $500,000 combined. One of the challenges that we at Albina Bank face is to refine the measurement of Albina Community Bank's tangibly positive impact on North Northeast so that we can better focus our resources. Let's look at it like this. $500,000 in wealth creation to residents that we are confident had no other alternative because they told us is more than a 10% return to the community on the capital invested, return to the community, in addition to return to the shareholders, return to the community on the capital invested in Albina Bank. And this measure only attempts to capture the impact of our residential lending effort. What we know about the small business lending environment has to be extrapolated from data provided by the Small Business Administration. In the 3 years preceding the formation of Albina Community Bank, African Americans, for example, received 9 SBA guaranteed loans, 9, compared to a total of 1,262 issued through the Portland District Office during the same period of time. This is less than 0.1% compared to a 7.5% representation in the general population. At parity, 85 loan guarantees would have been issued. Think about that gap in terms of the conclusion reached by the E.D. Hovey study that asserted that based upon the existing consumer purchasing power of residents in the Albina Community Plan area, this area is underserved by by at least 40% or 89 businesses. Recall earlier, gap was about 80. Notwithstanding that there are lies, damn lies, and then there are statistics, there seems to be a compelling symmetry to this set of numbers that were compiled several years apart. For me, they bring into sharp focus both the challenge and the opportunity. Now, regardless of the reason for this disparity, and there are many, many reasons, there is clearly great opportunity and great work to be done in North-Northeast to bring these opportunities to local residents. There are also great social costs associated with continued underdevelopment of human capital. The good news is that a cottage industry of assistance providers has developed in North-Northeast to facilitate rational, broad-based redevelopment that provides unprecedented opportunity to those with good ideas and entrepreneurial drive. Some of these efforts include the following put forward just by the Portland Development Commission. The MLK Boulevard Action Team, an outgrowth of the Governor's Community Solutions Team, recently dealt with the issue of the negative impact that the median strip has had on commercial development along Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard by partial removal. The MLK Boulevard Pre-Development Assistance provides an array of pre-development assistance for commercial and housing revitalization for projects on MLK Boulevard. This program has assisted 10 to 15 projects per year. Half of these have been completed or are under construction. The MLK Boulevard Northeast Storefront Grant Program assists property owners and tenants to rehabilitate exterior facades of buildings along MLK Jr. Boulevard and Alberta Street. 15 to 20 projects have been completed each year over the past 2 years. The MLK Boulevard Commercial Site Development identifies and executes site acquisition, architectural design, leasing, and other development activities to complete construction of commercial projects in key areas identified in the Albina Community Plan. The Adidas outlet store, with financing incidentally provided in a partnership between U.S. Bank and Albina Bank, is an outgrowth of this program. The PDC Business Loan Program provides loans to businesses to create jobs and business opportunities, business ownership opportunities for North and Northeast residents and commercial revitalization. Over the past 2.5 years, $4.2 million has been loaned to 43 businesses, creating 163 jobs to date. Finally, the MLK Boulevard Commercial Marketing Strategy. This team evaluates the MLK Boulevard corridor to identify high-potential development opportunities and provide a comprehensive marketing database to entrepreneurs seeking to exploit these opportunities. The market analysis is currently underway and will be available to interested entrepreneurs. There are many other initiatives promulgated by local business associations, banks, and other public and private actors. Incubator assistance provided by the Oregon Association of Minority Entrepreneurs. Technical assistance provided by Portland State University Business Outreach Program and Impact Business Consultants, to name a few. To conclude, what I think all of this means is that the future of economic opportunity in Northeast Portland for local residents and historically underserved populations should be seen in terms of its possibilities, not its limitations. There's great work to be done, especially in the area of access to capital, access to markets. However, a great team of players has been assembled and is now at work. Albina Community Bank is only one of many players that is now prepared to help you, to work with you to achieve a great success in North and Northeast Portland. I thank you for your attention and for having me speak before you today. And now we'll take some questions.
And as I mentioned earlier, Thomas Jenkins, the head of Rotary for North and Northeast Portland, will have the privilege of asking the first question, but please approach the mic.
Well, thank you and good afternoon. As your president has said, I represent the 46 men and women who live or work in the inner Northeast and make up the Rotary Club of Albina. As a service organization, we're vitally concerned with both the economic and the social health of our community. Leon, we are very, very grateful to you, to all the employees, and to the customers of the Albina Community Bank for what you have done, what you are doing today, and what I am sure you will be doing in the future. And that brings me to my question. What is next for Leon Smith and the Albina Bank? Where do you plan to take the organization in the years to come? And what are the obstacles that will be there for you to overcome?
Thank you, Tom. As I tried to indicate, there are a lot of opportunities, and there are a lot of important pieces that are in place to address those opportunities, to address the obstacles to people accessing those opportunities. I think the most important part of accessing that opportunity, once you have the access to capital in place, once you have access to markets in place, once you have technical assistance in place, there's another component, and that is to have people in place that have the entrepreneurial drive to access those opportunities. Now that is a very, very subtle issue. It's a very complicated issue. Where we would like to continue to take Albina Bank is to continue to look for, one, connections with this community, two, to look for opportunities to inspire people to take entrepreneurial risk, to feel that they have a support network that is affirming and supportive of them, such that they feel that they can succeed at that entrepreneurial endeavor. That's where we really want, where I think our greatest work lies ahead. There are a lot of pieces in place, a lot of things that we can all be proud of here, but we've got to inspire people. You know, if we're really going to close those numbers, especially on the small business side, we really have to tap into that latent entrepreneurial reservoir there and inspire it and get it going.
Gabe Fasolino with the Albina Rotary. Leon, I've noticed in the inner northeast area tremendous change in the makeup of the population and the demographics. We see a lot more Oriental and Hispanic entrepreneurs opening up small businesses. And I'm curious what the Albina Community Bank is planning to do in addressing that diversity of population, the entrepreneurs and the residents who will obviously follow as businesses grow that have a distinct demographic bent.
If you go into the bank today, you can talk to our, we have a personnel on staff who is Hispanic. I try to stumble through, but her English is far better than my Spanish. We're trying to identify, and I want to say before not only the audience assembled here, but the extended radio audience, we are looking for people, representatives of the Hispanic community and of the Asian community to serve on our board of directors, so that we can look for ways to effectively service those populations. We have some of our promotional material is printed in Spanish. We haven't done that yet for any of the Asian languages, but we would look forward to doing that as well. There are a lot of trade-offs that you have to make, and you have to crawl before you can walk sometimes, and so we can't do everything all at once. But those are things, those are populations that we want to reach out to and reach out to effectively. As a matter of fact, one of our very first SBA loans was to a Hispanic gentleman who came to us and lamented that he couldn't get a construction loan to build his office warehouse. He had been in the landscaping business for some 10 years. We made him a loan and also got an SBA guarantee on it. And a few months later, the Business Journal indicated, and it was it wasn't because of us. He was already successful. I don't know why he couldn't get financing somewhere else, but he was listed among the fastest growing companies in the state of Oregon. Yes, sir.
Steve Brooks, City Club member. Given what's been happening to First Interstate Bank and what will happen to U.S. Bank, do you anticipate that your bank will get into more service areas such as trust services or other more commercial areas?
This would be a great opportunity to hold forth on broad general changes in the banking industry. I'll try not to do that. I will say that just as large banks make no pretense about being all things to all people at this point in time, I think we see that. I think small banks, if they're going to be, community banks, if they're going to be effective in what they're doing, cannot be all things to all people. We can be as close as you can get just about to a full service, calling ourselves a full service bank. And we'll be able to do everything that you can do with any other bank, with the exception that we have made a deliberate decision that we will not get into trust services, we will not get into investment services, but just about every other kind of service that the average consumer in Northeast Portland would need a bank for will have. As a matter of fact, we've had conversations with Wells Fargo, a recent investor in the bank, to partner in services where they afford mutual funds or the sale of mutual funds or trust services or even safe deposit services, and we've chosen to stay out of that business. So that's the way we're going to try to move forward on that issue. Yes, sir.
Bob Wheel, City Club member. Several years ago, I bought 10 shares in a brand new minority-owned, minority-founded bank in Northeast Portland called Freedom Bank of Finance. I believe it's now the American State Bank. And I'm curious, what's the relationship between your banks? Are you friendly rivals or otherwise? Can American State survive your very impressive growth?
I'm more concerned about whether or not First Bank out of Minneapolis can survive our impressive growth. We're one of prior to about 1994, American State Bank was the only community bank in this community. Since that time, there have been 4 that have been started up. We're one of a number of those 4 banks that have started up here that saw a need to start up community banks with a specific niche of one sort or another. Ours happens to be Northeast Portland because we felt, and the numbers showed, that it was underserved. We don't have a specific agenda and or a specific relationship with American State Bank. I should note that one of the reasons why I labored over our ownership is because I wanted to make it plain that we are not and have never touted ourselves as a minority-owned bank. We've hopefully moved on to another paradigm. So we will look forward to being a good partner with them and doing loan participations and serving the North and Northeast community. I was fortunate enough to have grown up in a community where we had 2 minority-owned banks that were the number 1 and number 2 largest minority-owned banks in the country. I think the community was very well served by having that kind of strength and competitive spirit in that community. Maybe we can do the same thing here.
Hi, I'm Lydia Lundberg with the Rotary Club of Albina, and as you know, we're fairly active in Northeast Portland. As a matter of fact, we're a good customer of the Albina Bank. And my question is, at this time, it appears to be impossible to get regular funding for multi-use projects in Northeast Portland. As you know, we're working on one, and we're working with the state with low-income housing. And do you foresee the Albina Bank getting involved in those projects? Not this one particularly, but others, so that you can have smaller buildings that are multi-use to add to the success of the Northeast area?
I've lent money all over this country, and I've lived on the East Coast, in the Midwest, and now here in the Pacific Northwest. There seems to be a particular concern about mixed-use property, multi-use property. I don't find that to be the case in other areas of the country. So I don't have a particular bias or predilection toward toward multi-use property if it underwrites well. As a matter of fact, we just approved a loan for multi-use property on Killingsworth just last week. We look at them on a case-by-case basis, and all things considered, if they make sense, we'll do those loans. But we don't have any preconceived notion about the viability of those kinds of properties.
Dick Lewis, City Club member. Quick question, and then one maybe not so quick. I'm wondering if one wanted to serve on one of those commissions that you were mentioning, particularly with regard to the development along MLK, how would one do that?
I would contact someone at the Portland Development Commission, and I think there might be someone here in the audience, Michael McElwee. I see him over there.
Okay.
A great partner.
Great.
I talked to Michael McElwee about that.
I'm interested in another question. The City Club has had an initiative over the last year, a series of convocations that have brought together adults and young people, some City Club members, some not, to focus discussion on youth violence in Portland and to address the circumstances of young people in Portland that relate to that problem. And I'm curious to know how your investment strategies or practices or the role of the bank in that part of Portland may address the circumstance of young people and assist them in work and other ways in which their sense of themselves can be strengthened.
There are practitioners in that area that are far more focused specifically on those issues. But I think it's important. Part of the issue is for young people to have a strong sense of themselves because they see role models, because they see successful people moving through the community, because they see people like the people that are on Albina Bank staff serving on boards of directors and being out and effective in the community. As a bank, there's only so much we can do on that specific agenda. We of course, we have an intern on our staff right now. We're asked to do many things like that, but we have to do it in the context of our overall banking strategy, first of all, and so where we can lend some of our support indirectly to organizations that are more focused on that agenda, we'll do that. The last time I counted, and we did just a quick count a little while ago, our 18 people on staff were in 30 to 40 community organizations throughout the North and Northeast Portland community. And some of those organizations are focused on the condition of young people. So we do as much as we can, but we remember that we are a bank. Excuse me, maybe something a little bit more consistent with the reality that we are a bank will emerge over time, and we'll certainly be responsive to that.
I'm Louise Tippin, City Club member. Thank you for being here, and thanks for the bank being here, too. You mentioned that the bank was founded, actually, by some environmental organizations and as a result of an environmental lawsuit settlement. And I'm wondering if the bank still has an environmental component to its mission.
Well, actually, the fact that they were that the lawsuit was brought by some environmentally activist attorneys was really only incidental to the bank's mission. We do have a partnership with an environmental organization here locally where we match specific deposits that they have on deposit with us to make loans to environmentally sensitive businesses. It's a small thing, but we have not carved out a specific niche in the environmental industry at this point. We were just happened to be very fortuitous recipients of the proceeds of that money that came from the lawsuit that originally started from an environmental issue. But I can't say that we have a real strong environmental focus at this point. Our focus is just more urban and addressing the pressing needs of this urban community. Any more questions?
I'm Ray Polani, a member of the City Club. Mr. Smith, we have two freeways in the city of Portland, I-84 and I-5. They're both congested most of the time. However, I-84 has a pressure relief valve in the light rail. I-5, which goes through North and Northeast Portland, does not. Initially, the so-called north-south light rail line, which was being planned from Clark County to Oregon City, supposedly would cover that. Eventually, it was scaled down and it became only the south rail line from the arena to Clackamas Town Center. Well, after a negative vote at the polls, they reintroduced the north and northeast portion, perhaps to Lombard, maybe to Canton, perhaps to the Columbia River at least. How does the bank feel about that? Do you feel that light rail would be an important contribution to the development of North and Northeast Portland? And is the bank actively involved to make it happen?
The bank is not actively involved, and I will answer that question by sharing with you my own views on that, because the bank doesn't really have an official position on it. But I think that light rail has everything to do with, and the concentrations of where the stations are, has everything to do with the subsequent economic development and of course the attendant wealth creation that comes with that economic development. So I think we do watch that issue very, very carefully, and we're trying to look for opportunities to respond favorably for the population that we serve. So I personally am glad to see it go along the north and go along the corridor north through north and northeast, but I think that there are a lot more specific issues associated with it in terms of where those stations are located and what happens with the whole placement of that. The contractors, for example, that are used in the building of that facility, all of those things. I'm very happy to see it happen. I don't think it's a negative at all. I think it can be very important to North and Northeast. That's just my personal view.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Pugh. I'm an associate at Stoll Reeves and a City Club member. I have a question about share ownership. Is the bank authorized to issue any more shares, or are there any shares available?
We just concluded a public offering of stock last week, and so there are no shares available at this time. If you'll just call the bank, we'll put your name on a list of people that have expressed an interest in the next round of capital raising, and we'll let you know when we have some shares that are available.
Thanks.
Actually, Joe stole what was going to be my question, but we do have a practice of submitting questions, written questions from the floor, and there was only one, and that was, what exactly are your geographic boundaries, and do you see any expansion of those boundaries in the future?
Our, let's call it our, there's a couple of ways in which we can, there's at least half dozen ways in which we can answer that question. Let me answer it in terms of our CRA assessment area. That area extends from 84 on the south to the river on the north, from the river on the west to the city limits, all of North and Northeast Portland. That was the entire area that was affected by the lawsuit settlement, so that is our area now. The Albina Community Plan defines a little bit more narrower area that extends out to about 33rd Street. The inner core is circumscribed a little bit more narrowly. But as we have evolved as a bank, our boundaries are essentially all geographic, what one would conventionally know as all of North and Northeast Portland. However, we, as the numbers earlier indicated, we are not exclusively a lender to North and Northeast Portland. For purposes of portfolio diversification, for purposes of doing good business where we find it, while at the same time maintaining the core of our mission in North Northeast, we do lending in other communities. In Southeast Portland, where there are great needs, and as we continue to succeed, people draw us to other places, and there's good business to be done. We always want to maintain our core mission in North and Northeast Portland, though.
Seeing no other questions at this time, Leon, we thank you very much for joining us. You began by bringing us greetings from the land of possibilities, and I think it's fair to say this audience feels that the possibilities are infinite under your leadership. We're very glad you could be with us. I would invite all of you to join us next week for our program again at the Hilton Hotel with our panelists addressing the new issues with the urban growth boundary from a Metro Councilor's point of view, and Robert Liberty, Executive Director of 1,000 Friends of Oregon. With that, we are adjourned.